Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well. So, let me just make sure everything's working good on everything. So, let me just see. Just give me a second while I do this. Hey, what's up, everyone? Hope everyone's doing well. So, let me. All right. So, it seems like everything's going good. Now, I'm just going to have to just connect some other things. Hold on. Just give me a second, everyone, because the software I'm using actually now we can actually go live on more platforms without multiple devices. We can just use one. So it's like technical issues, but just give me a second as I go ahead and do get this figured out. Okay. Um, all right. So it looks like I got everything pretty much figured out now. Um, All right, I got everything pretty much figured out. So today's class is going to be pretty special. So what we're doing today, I know from last week, I did mention about last week I did mention about talking about
No, it's
hold
about
on
the thing.
shit, bro. Um, so last week I did mention about um going talking about like how what type of calories you should be consuming if you wanted to build muscle, right? But I'm not going to do that class today because Christmas is Monday, right? And what's the biggest thing that most people usually do during Christmas? Travel, right? So today we're going to talk about the best foods to eat during holiday travel because people usually go ahead and start doing this holiday travel very early in the week. Like most people are already traveling right now. I've already have students who's calling me at this moment letting me know that they're not going to be able to they're not going to be able to um, like be on the plan 100% already. They're traveling, they're spending time with family. And so a lot of people usually take this time to really reconnect. You know what I'm saying? So which I totally understand, you know what I'm saying? But what I always try to tell people is during these travels, it's best, okay? It's best if you can't stay on track with a diet 100%, at least be more conscious on the foods that you're actually eating. Okay, that's the best thing to do is to be conscious. But maybe some people don't know how to be conscious. You know what I'm saying? Like because what's the tendency that we usually have is really the tendency that we have is usually like hey, the holidays are coming up. I'm just going to go ahead and take a break from everything and I'll start in the New Year's, right? Because New Year's is literally right around the corner. It's like 2 weeks away, right? Maybe even less than 2 weeks. So what usually happens is that when that usually happens, then people want to start in January. But here's the problem with individuals who kind of like keep making excuses and they're using the holidays as an excuse to not go ahead and stick with a particular plan or just start with some good habits during the holidays. Is that New Year's come, you're all motivated, you're hyped up, you go ahead, start trying to get into the routine of eating healthy. You probably go out, start hiring a coach and all this good jazz. But then next thing you know, by statistics, about 70% of people usually fall off after the first 6 weeks. So by February, there's a huge drop off. You know what I'm saying? And why is that? It's because we're using that motivation, like the new year, new me. We're using a lot of things to a lot of excuses to get like to push us to start forward, but we never really try to practice any type of lifestyle habits, even throughout the year. And we always try to tell ourselves or make ourselves believe that, hey, look, if I start this year, you know, there I have my calendar is clean. This is my goals. But in all reality, you always know that you always try to tell yourself that this is the perfect time to start. But in all reality, when it comes to health and fitness, there's really no time. There's no perfect time to start, if that makes sense. So this is one of the things that I like to go over because at least if you go ahead and start prepping now and start using these tips now, and these are the same tips that I actually tell my students to follow, then it's going to help you with your New Year's resolutions. So you're not another statistic, because how many people already has tried year after year after year after year trying to start over, and then you fell off somewhere between the year because something came up? You know, maybe a lot of people. I hear it from my students all the time, and I've seen it happen all the time as well. So what I've done is I went ahead and created a PowerPoint presentation to go ahead and help everyone start their New Year's right by going ahead and prepping right now. All right, some great tips that you can do. And if you could go ahead and start with these small practices, I'm not even trying to tell you have to be perfect. Just these small little tips and practices going into your holiday travel with your holiday parties, because right after Christmas, guess what? There's the New Year's parties, you know, and this is why I said, like, a lot of people set themselves up for failure because they're like, I'm going to start off New Year's on January 1st, and then you're hung over in the bed. And then guess what? You already lied to yourself, because what you did is you made this perfect plan, but you went ahead, went out, been unresponsible. You stopped your goals, and now you push your goals back again. Like, all right, I'm going to start next week, because now it has to be, every time you're making this promise, it has to be the perfect start. So what's first? We have the new year. That's January 1st. Then you push that away. What's the next reposition? Is going to be Monday. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'll start next week. I'll start Monday, and then you start. So most people usually start in the middle of January, or maybe near the end of January. This is why I usually see. I mean, I've been in the fitness industry for over 10 years. I've seen it so many times. I've heard all the excuses. I've been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I made this presentation, so you can kind of go ahead and start putting these things into practice. Before I open up that PowerPoint presentation and share it with you guys, let me just try to do this, because I did come a little unprepared. I'm sorry, you guys, but it's just some technical difficulties on my end, but I'm trying to get this TikTok up and going. So hold on while I do that really quick. Just give me a second. And if y'all have any questions, just let me know. All right. All right, so we got this going. All right, so let me just make sure we got some. All right, so let me go ahead and bring this up. All right, just give me a sec. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that up for you guys. All right, so here's the screen, and then for everyone on the Zoom call, go ahead and share the screen for you guys as well. All right, so we're looking at this screen right now. Let's see. All right, so we have the holiday. This is it right here. So how to meal prep while traveling. Okay, so I usually like starting off with this right here. Every accomplishment starts with the decision to try. Okay, so this is where it really boils down, right? And the reason I said this is that because if you're not, when it comes to starting off your fitness goals for the New Year's, especially when it comes to traveling, you have to go ahead and start off with at least trying. Okay. And like I said, this is why I'm doing this PowerPoint, because at least if you start trying and you start going ahead with your goals in the beginning, it's just going to help you long term. Okay. So with that said, some of the things I'm going to talk about today is going to be why meal prepping is important while traveling, what to avoid when you're traveling because of the holiday travel. You can get caught up with the cookies, the peanuts, the snacks that they give you on the airlines, okay, which is just going to really just make you put on more body fat before you start the New Year's resolution. Because again, a lot of people have this like black and white mentality when it comes to health and fitness. They're like, I'm going to end this year with bang. So I'm just going to eat what I want, get trash, drink as much alcohol that I can before I start. Why do that? Why destroy your body at the very get-go if you can just go ahead and like start practicing good, healthy habits? You're making it like you're like it's the last time you're ever going to live. Like this should be a practice of a new beginning. You know what I'm saying? You should be happy that you're about to improve your body. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be like something that you're like I'm going to go out with a bang by destroying my body with the worst foods ever. You know what I mean? I try to tell my students this, like, don't have this mentality. This is sick, right? Then after that, we're going to talk about the best foods and snacks to prep while traveling. And then after that, some hacks to be successful. And then after that, we'll go ahead and go in some Q&A. All right. Now, why is meal prepping is important? Well, as you see in the PowerPoint, it says it prevents you from going over or under target caloric and macronutrient goals. All right. So when we talk about calories, right? Calories is a unit of heat. It's energy. That's by definition. Okay. And if you kind of meal prep ahead of time, this prevents you from going over your target goals. And again, the whole point of me doing this is to tell you that I know your holiday travel. I'm not looking for people to be perfect, but it's something that you can practice. And by doing that, you can use like food apps like MyFitnessPal, you know what I'm saying? Or Chronometer. You could use some of these apps to help you start practicing so you can see how many calories you're doing. And I highly advise you when you do travel, right? These apps are free. Download the app and then see how your habits are with all the foods you eat. And if you have a belly, you're overweight, you're struggling to lose body fat, then you can see how much food you're eating. Because the first thing you want to do is be aware. You want to be conscious of what's making you overweight. It's not just the foods that you're eating, but it's also your habits. Okay. And then also when you meal prep, it prevents you from sticking to your macronutrient goals. So macro, if we break this word in half, macro is large. Nutrient is like your protein, carbs, and fat. Macronutrients are the biggest nutrients that keeps the body that is vital for the body to function. Okay. So these are important macronutrients, and you want to make sure you're getting a balance of each one, especially depending on your goals. And if you saw my live class from last week, I went very deep into those macronutrients. I actually showed you how to make your own meal plans for weight loss. And I explained how they play a role. I explained that protein is good for thermogenesis, so it does aid with weight loss. As well, it helps you build some muscle, right? Because protein is made up of amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein. It helps you build muscle. And then you have your carbs and your fats, which is your energy sources, right? And they both play a significant role as well. Like your carbs is going to be like for immediate energy. Your fats is also good for energy as well. But when it comes to fats, it also helps regulate your hormones too. Okay. And fats also play other roles in your body for like healthy digestion, gut, heart, joints, brain function, and so much more. Okay. Then also when you meal prep, I always say this. This is one of my things I always say. We never plan to fail. We fail to plan ahead. Okay. So when you meal prep, it prevents you from cheating. It goes right back to the first one I said. So this is why meal prepping plays a significant role. And one thing I always try to tell people is that, when I post my testimonials on my pages or when I post pictures of myself, and it's funny when I see individuals talk about me and say like, "Oh, he like he's vegan, he can't be that muscular, he can't be that ripped," or they sometimes people talk about my testimonials that way, like, "Oh, they cheated, they're on stuff, they're on steroids." Like, look, man, I show people how to meal prep. Food plays 80%. And if you're struggling to get a particular body type that you want, I'm telling you, if you start tracking the foods that you eat and you start being very structured and you start writing things down, and you're consistent for a long period of time, you're going to see amazing results. Okay. You're going to see crazy results when it comes down to this. So that's why I always say we never plan to fail. Like, you don't wake up in the morning like, today I'm going to wake up and just mess up all my calories. What we do is we just eat unconsciously, and we try making eating unconsciously as eating normal. But what you don't understand is your normal way of eating it's a bad habit itself. And that's why you're overweight. That's why you're not fit, because you have a lot of bad habits. And these habits were passed along, unfortunately, from your parents. Because 9 out of 10 times, every time I do a public speaking event when it comes to nutrition, and people have like some hereditary diseases when it comes to health, I always say, like, how many other people in their family is overweight except yourself? And I see a lot of people's hands raise up. Their grandparents are overweight, their parents is overweight, their sister, their brother is overweight, their cousins are overweight, but then they all come together eating the same fucking bullshit. Right. So it's like, is it really that genetic, or is it because like no one in the family knows how to eat correctly? And then you throw other things on top of that to normalize the bad eating habits, like tradition. I hear that a lot. Religion. I hear that a lot. It's like you throw these other ties into your bad habits to make it seem like this is what we have to do because we're family. This is because of tradition, because of religion. And it's like, you could still have tradition and religion and do these things, but in a healthier way. Okay. It's just that people in your family has to understand and start learning better eating habits. Okay. Then after that, we have consistency. All right. Consistency is the key for target weight loss or weight gain goals. All right. So like, because I know I talk about weight loss a lot, but it's just because a lot of people do struggle more with weight loss versus gaining muscle. But even individuals that try to gain muscle, the reason they're not gaining muscle, because again, the food, they're not eating the right foods. They're looking at other influencers. Maybe they're getting confused of what a surplus means. They think it's like, I can eat whatever I want. But if you're just going to Taco Bell, Chipotle, McDonald's, and eat a bunch of trashy foods, you're going to get trashy results. As simple as that. Same thing with weight loss. If you're just cutting out certain types of foods out of your diet, but you don't have a particular target and you're not consistent on it, then you're not going to know how to make adjustments to those calories or to your target goals. Okay. Then after that, we have to learn about nutrient density of different foods. So foods faster by eating the same meal. Okay. And then you want to learn more, like, I have to read this over, I'm like, oh, what did it say? All right. So it says you have to learn nutrient density of different foods so you can get foods faster by eating the same meals. All right. So what I'm trying to say here, because I think I wrote that completely wrong, but what I'm trying to say is that you want to learn about the nutrient density of foods. Okay. And by doing that, eating the same foods or the same meals will give you faster results by learning. Because one of the things that I do with my students is this: I give them a meal plan. I create a customized meal plan for each student depending on their goals. And then with that said, I have them eat the same meal for a month. Now, some people might say it's extreme. some fitness gurus might disagree with that, but I always say this: if you're trying to learn something, like, what do you do? Do you just learn do you learn different things every single day, or you keep you're studying, right? For example, the point I'm trying to make is, if I'm taking an exam and I'm trying to pass this exam, am I going to, and it's, let's say in this book, like a health book, and there's 12 chapters, and the exam is on chapter 1, am I going to read the whole fucking book? Or I'm going to just continue to read chapter 1, right, until I know all the information that chapter 1 has available, so when I take the test, I can pass it. Because if I'm reading the whole entire book and the exam is only on chapter 1, what are you doing? You're wasting your time, right? You're not going to get the information to pass the test, because you're wasting more time reading other things versus just studying the chapter that you need to study on, and just continue to repeat reading that chapter, reading over your notes on that chapter to pass. I think that's the best example I could give. Or if you're trying to learn the alphabet when you were a baby, right? Did your parents give you the whole entire alphabet, or they started off with a couple of letters first? More likely start you off with a couple letters first. And then once you learn those, and once you start repeating like ABC, let's say like just the 3 letters, ABC, ABC, ABC. Once you start remembering that, then we start opening up to the other letters. And then we start opening up more. And that's the same ideology I have when it comes to my students. I'm like, look, if I have you eating tofu scramble for like over a month, you're not just going to learn how to cook it. You're also going to learn about the nutrient density from all those ingredients. So if I have like spinach, tofu, bell peppers, onions, garlic, like these food items in that meal plan, you're going to have a better understanding of what they do. You're going to know that, spinach is a significant source of vitamin A. You're going to know like these type of particular vegetables are great for fiber. You're going to know that tofu is a significant source of protein, because a lot of people who transition to a plant-based diet don't even know just the basic stuff. People think you can get a lot of protein from eating beans and rice, or peanuts. And I'm not saying that they're wrong, but it's not a significant source, because beans is more of a carb source versus a protein source. A more protein source food is going to be tofu. Now, if you want to get more protein in your diet overall, you want to combine different types of foods into your diet to hit a particular protein goal, if that makes sense. And then after that, we have learn about portion control and food combinations for optimal results. So it kind of bounces back to what I just said before. All right. Now, this is like what you shouldn't do when traveling. Some of the things you shouldn't do while traveling is traveling or going on vacation, right? Because this is something that I see people do a lot, right? They make the excuses like, I'm going on vacation. Like, even sometimes I hear it from students in my program. I have to kind of stop them or give them some tips before they do this. But they say traveling or going on vacation is not a free pass to eat what you want or take a pause in the program, right? Because again, a lot of people have this black and white mentality. And the reason they have this black and white mentality, even if you're not even in my program, right? A lot of people, this is the same reason why people like to start in January. They're like, I want to start in January because it's a black and white mindset. It's because our mind is programmed to move in the path of least resistance. This is why. Because they know that if I try to travel, it's going to be complicated. But what you don't understand is that if you're traveling and you have that resistance, this is the best time to practice, because once you start practicing, it's going to be easier. And this is what's going to help you have good results. Because when I travel, trust me, it is a little difficult in the beginning, but now it's so easy because I've done it so many times. I've overcome that obstacle. And this is why I have great results. This is why my students have great results as well. So don't move into the path of least resistance. When there is resistance, this is the time to really put things into practice. That's why I'm doing this class today, because I know that if you're going to go ahead and start January, right, then at least start practicing some good habits when it comes to going into January. So go ahead, start meal prepping, start tracking your foods, start making the smart choices. So it's going to be easier in the long run versus trying to start in January like everybody else does and then end up becoming a statistic where now you're in 2024 as another failure. And now you're going to wait all the way till 2025 and nothing's going to change until you start putting things into practice. Then we have people like to make excuses or justify their actions on why they cannot meal prep. Yeah. And again, it kind of goes on with number one, like don't make these excuses. Stop justifying for failures. All right. When you fail in something, it shouldn't be a justification. You should learn from the actions. So, for example, with my students, what they usually do is, especially in the beginning, I try to tell them like, hey, if you're going on vacation, at least be conscious of some of the foods that you're eating. Continue to track your meals. Try to find a gym. I don't tell them like you have to do it this, and this, or if not, you suck, you're a failure. I don't do that stuff. I know I've been in the military for 8 years, but I'm not a drill sergeant. You know what I'm saying? That life is years ago. It's like years. When I say years, I want to say like maybe 17, 18, maybe even 20 years ago. Like it's been such a long time since I've been in the military. Okay. So I'm not a drill sergeant. What I try to tell people is, just try, and be conscious. And if you go over, you go over, but then you learn about it. And because that's what I do too. That's what a lot of my successful students do as well. If they fail in something, it's not a time to reprimand someone. It's a time to like go over your progress and see how we can do something better. Like if I saw like, hey, you didn't drink a lot of water during your travel. This is why you're holding a lot of water. This is why your body fat went up. What can we learn from this mistake? Okay, maybe next time we go to the airport, we should buy like the 33 ounces of water next time. Maybe buy 2 because, you're out and about and these bottles can fit in the backpack and we can travel and drink that while traveling. Like, we start finding solutions. Okay. And then the next statement I have is pretend that you didn't plan a vacation or traveling event. This one right here, I want to say this one right here pretty much annoys me the most because like and this is more like a personal thing when it comes to me and student relationships. I have an open door policy in my program. So it's like you can contact me anytime. I have an office number you can contact. You can message me 24 hours within the app that I have for my students. So and then they have weekly check-in calls where they can schedule and find the time for themselves to be able to talk to me. And I'm very open and I like to no one really, like for example for the holidays, no one just packs their bag and just leaves. Like, oh, I'm going to go to Alaska like for Christmas, like just made a freaking crazy decision like last minute. Like, you're going to go on these vacations, these travel events. I always say, if you already plan for the vacation, the planning for the vacation, just buying the plane ticket and the rental car and the hotel, that's not the end of your planning. You have to plan everything else. So again, fitness is a lifestyle. And if you're trying to have sustainable results, you have to make it part of your lifestyle. It's not a luxury. And the problem is a lot of people take fitness as a luxury, but then they complain when they don't have the results that they have. And then in your mind, you feel like you're doing a great job in your journey, in your fitness journey, because it was only the vacation that you didn't follow the plan. But what you don't realize is that if you didn't follow the plan and if you didn't follow your meal plan or your workout plan or your lifestyle habits, your good habits during vacation, when you get back, some people fall off and then it takes them like another week or two just to get back on track into their normal routine. And I always say it's easier to maintain a particular routine versus stopping a routine all over again. Because every time you stop, it's 10 times harder to start over again. So it's the same thing like working out. If you like work out 4 days out of the week and then you get sick and you're sick for a week and then you come back trying to hit the gym again, how hard does it feel going back to the gym right after you're sick? It's pretty tough because that cold, that illness knocked you off track, right? But that's something that's out of control. But I'm just using that as an example when you do things on purpose that is in your control. If you do something that's in your control and you purposely did it because you just didn't want to plan because of the resistance, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, the justifications, the excuses that you make, right? Then when you try to get back on track, it's 10 times harder to get back. And most people usually don't get back on. Next thing you know, a couple weeks pass by, a couple months pass by, and then they're back to where they started again. And guess what? Now it's 2025, and now you're back to your same stupid ass excuses when it comes to your New Year's resolutions. Like, oh, I'm going to start over. I fell off, and you're crying about it, right? And then the next thing is not trying to make the program work. Okay, so if you're hiring a coach or you're looking into coaching for someone to keep you accountable, you know they're not doing. They're putting in the money. They're putting in the investment, and that's a huge step. That's a huge step when you make that investment, right? But the problem is that you have to stay on track. And again, you don't have to be perfect, but you have to try at least to make it work. Okay. The only way something doesn't work if you know your coach just suck. Like and there's not really that many coaches that just plainly suck. Uh, I don't see a lot of bad coaches out there. I see people who just don't listen to the coach and they're not trying hard enough, which is simply just communications. That's what it really is. It's just communications. Yeah, if you don't like something, just communicate. But if you kind of just disappear on them, don't expect the coach to be chasing you because everyone's adults here. And the coaches is not your parent. They're not your nanny. Okay. They're there to coach you. And if they have an open door policy like myself, don't expect coaches to be chasing you to try to get you back on the program. Okay. If they're reaching out to you from time to time, but then you're not responding back, they're just going to look at you like, hey, yeah, I guess this person don't care. I guess this is just a free paycheck. And that's how most coaches look at it. Okay. They're not your nanny. They're not your parent. You're an adult and you have to take responsibility of your actions. Okay. So it's all about communications. Now, with that said, before I continue, do I have any questions when it comes down to these things? Someone said, I've already put on a couple of pounds from a holiday weight. Yeah. So again, thank you for stating that, Mark. But this is why I'm doing this, because maybe what you can do is, you could take some of these tips and start applying it. You know what I mean? So hopefully this is helpful. But let's go ahead and continue on. All right. And let me just make sure there's no other questions. So someone else also says I'm 55 and I have been working out on due to my health, but I've lost 27 pounds and I want to get toned up. What's your opinion? All right. So we have Roger here. Roger, he calls himself Roger Rabbit. Right? So he says that he's 55 years old. He's been working out, and due to his health, he lost 27 pounds, but he wants to get toned. So when people say tone, the only thing I could say is this: like toning means like you still want to start seeing like more definition. Like if you're flexing, you want to see more definition in that muscle. You want to see like separation, right? So that means that you're on the right path. You already lost 27 pounds, but maybe you need to continue to lose more body fat. So in our reality, you need to continue on your journey with the body fat, with the weight loss journey, until you start seeing more definition, because you probably already have the muscle there. but if you're not seeing any definition, you need to continue to cut down more. All right, that means you still have more body fat to lose. The best thing to do is first you can look at like a body chart like this, okay, and see where you fall within your body fat level. First, just to see if you're in a healthy or overweight range, and then after that, you want to get a scale that actually checks your weight and body fat. So I have this right here. It's called InBody Scale. All right, you get on Amazon. I believe it's about like $280. It's very accurate, and you can measure yourself. I would say at least once a week. Okay. Now, once you start measuring yourself once a week, this is going to determine. This will tell you if you're losing body fat or not. You know, because like you said in your question, you lost 27 pounds. But out of that 27 pounds, how much of that 27 pounds is fat? See what I'm saying? Because that's what you want to focus on, is mostly the fat. Okay. And then let's see if there's any other questions. Someone else says, Corinne, I'm vegan, breakfast and hummus, avocado power. All right, cool. All right, and I think that's it. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. Yeah, no problem, Mark, no problem, man. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. So let's go ahead and go into this presentation. So what to avoid when traveling? Okay, so some of the foods that you want to avoid when you're traveling is foods that are calorically dense. Okay, so calorically dense foods is like sodas, fried foods, the snacks, because the problem with calorically dense foods is that they're so small, but they can be more equivalent to real food. Okay, and you know, I've done. I'm gonna be honest. This is where I love doing lives, because this is where I'm very transparent with things, especially if you already follow me and you see like all these reels. Because in reels, they're so short, I can only say so much, right? So I try to just get straight to the point, and sometimes I'm very black and white in the reels. I'm like, yeah, soda's horrible for you, don't drink it, right? But the reality is this: like, you can have sodas, you can have fried foods and snacks and stuff like that. But let's say you're trying to lose weight, it's probably not the best foods to have on a consistent basis. For example, like a soda has about 50 grams of carbohydrates. You know what I'm saying? That's 50 grams. And in reality, that's a lot. That's a lot, especially if you're on a diet, you're in a caloric deficit. That's a lot. Because if you, and remember, it's only in 12, it's in a 12-ounce can. Now, if I compare that to a bowl of oatmeal, a half a cup of oatmeal is only 27. So that means I could have just about a full cup of oatmeal, right? A full cup of oatmeal, which is like a big bowl of oatmeal that has fiber, is healthy, it has nutrients. That's which one you think is going to be more fulfilling, that big bowl of oatmeal or that bubbly can of soda that's filled with sugar? Because most of the time it's 50 grams of carbs with 50 grams of added sugar. That's like the normal can of soda, right? So what do you think is going to be healthier and it's going to keep you more satiated in a deficit? That little can of soda where you drink it and then you're going to piss it out literally an hour later? That big giant bowl of oatmeal, the big giant bowl of oatmeal. Okay. So this is why certain foods are best to have while dieting. Now, if you can adhere to a diet, like if you can drink the soda and then adhere to that caloric deficit, you can still lose weight, but it will be harder. It requires more discipline. And most people will fail because it's just it's a drink. There's nothing that's slowing down digestion unless you have a very, very small appetite. And most people don't. Okay, especially if they're in a deficit and you're working out and things like that. Most people don't. And if most people did, like, I wouldn't be here now talking about it. Okay, like it'd just be easy breezy. Everyone would download MyFitnessPal, put in their calorie deficit diets, just follow that, eat that, and then everyone will be easy. If it was that easy, then I wouldn't be here. I'll just be like, yo, just download the app, record, put in your data, see how many calories you have to be eating, and just adhere to it, and then eat what you want, and just stay like that, and you'll lose the weight. And that's it. But it's not that easy. Not all calories are made the same. Okay, so it's all about it's very objective, but it's about like which foods are best when it comes to the diets. And when it comes to my students, I usually tell them like, look, I'd rather you drink like coffee, like teas, a lot of water when you're in a deficit. If you love soda and you're just very addicted to it, then try having soda with 0 calories. You know, I'd rather you drink a Diet Coke than a regular Coke. Okay, I'd rather you have a Diet Pepsi that has 0 calories versus a regular Pepsi. Okay, like we could sit here all day and argue about like, oh, the aspartame and all that stuff, but if you're trying to lose weight, what's the bigger goal? Like, is it drinking regular Coke so you can stay fat, or is it just drinking something else and that's going to help you with your diet? And listen, there's other sodas out there that don't have aspartame in it. There's healthier drinks. Like you have my favorite is what's it called? I think it's called Vivia or something like that. Something like Vivia or something. That's what I like to drink because it's more. I hopefully I'm saying the name right, but with that soda it's natural. So they use stevia as a sweetener, and it's calorie free. I mean, yeah, granted, it doesn't taste like no Diet Coke. I want to be honest with you. It doesn't taste like a Diet Coke tastes pretty good for a diet soda, but the Zevia drinks it's natural, and that's when you're looking at more of quality. Yeah, so if you want to look at more quality drinks, then you go to the more natural ones. Okay, and then also another thing you wanted to avoid, and this is a type of eating. Okay, what I'm about to say is grazing. This I would say grazing is one of the worst type of ways to eat. And if you don't know what grazing is when you're kind of like eating unconsciously throughout the day. Like, I'm just going to grab a hand of nuts. Pause. Right? I'm just going to grab a hand of nuts and just eat it throughout the day as a snack. It's like you're snacking. Or I'll just grab these berries. Or I just grab a soda. Or I'll just go to the vending machine and get the little small bag of chips because you're looking at everything small, right? So you're just grabbing this and grabbing that throughout the day, not really having a real meal. And then you might have like 1 or 2 actual meals, but then throughout the day, you have like a honey bun, you have some nuts, maybe some berries, an apple here, banana here, a bag of chips. You know, you're just kind of snacking all throughout the day. And what you don't realize is that through that snacking, and since it's unconsciously, is pretty much what I'm doing is I'm putting a blindfold on and I'm taking a dart and I'm throwing it, trying to hit a bullseye. That's what you're doing. So sometimes you can probably lose weight by grazing, but the majority, but it's a hit and miss. So it's really random what I'm trying to say. So if you do random eating, you're going to get random results. Okay, so don't be surprised if you gain weight or you lost weight or you plateau. It's going to be random. It's like you're playing the lottery with yourself. Then, especially during the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas party, holiday parties, Christmas, family gatherings. Then we have New Year's coming up. FOMO eating. This is FOMO eating is literally on the rise during this time of year. So FOMO is fear of missing out. Yeah. So you're at the parties, you see all the snacks and everything there. You don't want to be that person. I can't eat that because you see everyone else eating it. So you have the fear of missing out. And then this is when the justification and excuses starts coming into play. You're hanging out with family. Grandma made her Christmas apple pie. I can't make grandma upset because I have to have this apple pie. Even though the apple pie is about like 350 to 500 calories, I'm trying to diet. But guess what? I could start New Year's. I can only have that apple pie once a year. FOMO eating. This is a disorder. Okay. Because you're already in your head versus because you're thinking too much of what other people think versus just doing what you need to do to get your results. Like when I look at food, it's just energy to me. That's it. It more plays more of an energy role than satisfying someone at a party or a family member. Like I've already got over that mess. If I'm on a particular diet and have to stick to it, I'll stick to it. If I can have it, then I'll have it. But I'm not all in my mind messing myself up because of what other people think or what other people are doing. I make my own conscious decisions if I want to have the food or not. And especially if I truly care about my health and my physique. All right. And that's what I really try to do with my students as well, is really try to educate them with the foods. So the more conscious, more education you have and more conscious you are with the foods you eat, then if you want to have grandma's pie, you'll learn how to incorporate it into your lifestyle without weight regain. That's what I really try to do when it comes to my students. Then after that, again, not planning ahead and being unprepared. This is literally the worst thing. This is the worst thing you can do. Is like just going out there, unconsciously doing things and just not caring at all. Okay, that's the worst. That's just a plan for disaster. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and go a little bit deeper. I'm going to look at my students. The students that said Louise, he's like, as far as this advice goes, is there more wiggle room when one is on a surplus? Meaning, is it okay to go over a few calories during vacation? Yes. Like if you're on a surplus, you can go over calories, you know, so it's not going to be as damaging versus someone in a deficit. So that's why with my students, I'm a little bit harder on my students when it comes to overeating in deficits versus surpluses, because when you're on a surplus, you have more diversity of foods. It's just it has to be kind of controlled. It's controlled. So you know, you might hear bodybuilders that you're following talking about like, you know, it's bulking season, and then in your mind, because you're comparing yourself to what they eat to yourself, and you're thinking like, oh well, The Rock can eat 18 pancakes. Well, you're not the fucking Rock. You know, like what? That's what you have to realize. You're not him, man. This he's like 300 some pounds, man. Like he's on another level of stuff, right? You're not him. You don't even look nowhere like him. You need a lot of muscle to be able to eat 18 pancakes and burn that stuff, right? You're not him. I don't eat no damn 18 pancakes and then 2 pizza pies and a bunch of sushi after that. I don't eat like that. I don't even have that much muscle. I'm healthy too. I don't have that much muscle like him. You think I'm going around reading Men's Health magazines trying to see what he eats to compare it to myself? If I eat the way he eats, I'm going to be fat. Okay. But to answer Louise's question, right? Yeah, you can go a little over. Okay. Like you can go a little over, but I still suggest, like, you know, if you're especially if you're tracking your calories, you know, just make sure that you can see it. You can see how much over you go, because it's not to punish yourself. It's just so you can know, like, all right, if I went over this day, maybe I should clean it up the next day. Because like one day going over, even 2 days going over is you're not gonna gain weight. You might gain a little water weight and feel a little bloated the next day. But I always say this is your body giving you signals and signs. Like I always say, don't get mad at bloating and holding water. Look at it as your body trying to speak to you, telling you like, hey, look, we just gained 5-10 pounds in 2 days from all the bullshit we ate. This can happen if you continue. It's your body's trying to talk to you. You just have to understand the language. You know what I'm saying? And if you catch that, and that's why I say if you journal it and you see that, then you know, like, all right, well, 2 days won't hurt. And then once you get back on track, you see your weight go back to normal, then it's cool. But I always say it's your body trying to give you a sign, because it's telling you like, hey, you keep eating like that, you can be at that weight forever. You know, and so that's the thing. So to answer your question, yeah, of course, you're like I'm on a bulking too, and there's times I go a little bit over from time to time, especially if there's like a party or a family gathering. Like I still try to stay on track with stuff, but then, you know, if I'm only time I usually go over is if I'm up late at night. You know what I'm saying? And that's when I usually go over. But again, I don't just flip the switch and say, screw it. Yeah. Oh, I'm late at night. I'm just going to eat whatever I want. No, I still try to have some type of conscious way of eating. And if I see like I went over 300 calories, I went over 500 calories. All right, cool. It's not a big deal, especially if I was up till midnight. That's still not a big deal because you're still burning those calories anyway while you're up. All right. But unfortunately, I only got into 6 slides out of 18. Sorry guys because of the technical difficulties. Again, like I said, um, I just set up this new I just kind of set up this new way of streaming on all platforms except TikTok and Zoom, which I'm going to try to get that integrated as well. But with that said, I do have to let y'all go. I do have meetings I have to attend to with my students, so they don't mess up on their diets during the holidays, and do some check-ins. So with that said, hopefully this video was helpful, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.